inside as well. Pizarro's cross. Jimenez brought it down. Jimenez Dos Santos, and off the bar. It was coming from Mexico, and it's Jonathan Dos Santos who puts them in front.
Well, the good news first, folks. The U.S. are world champions. Now for the bad news. The U.S. are not Gold Cup champions. The tourney is over. The journey is over for the U.S., and Mexico are the champions for a record 8th time. It's gone back and forth between the U.S. and Mexico in this decade, and El Tri win this one 1-0 thanks to that Jonah Dos Santos goal you saw before. I'm Andrew Wiebe with Charlie Davies, Lori Lindsey, Matt Doyle. This is Club and Country from the AT&T MLS Studios in Midtown Manhattan. Disappointment is the feeling right now for us guys. Give me your thoughts, Charlie. You predicted the U.S. would win this game. I feel a little bit of something bubbling up in you. I just can't figure out what it is.
I'm optimistic about the future. They were wasteful in the first half with their chances. You have to be clinical in the final third. In international soccer, sometimes you only get one chance, just one golden chance. They got 2 golden chances that they weren't able to capitalize, and it came back to haunt them. You have to put Mexico away when you can. They had the chance to do it in the first half, and they let it slip through.
They didn't do it. Joy this morning, Lori. That was nice, right?
Oh, yeah.
Hold on to that.
I know.
For the men, though, what's the feeling after this tournament?
Well, I thought it was a fantastic start, exactly what Charlie said. High energy, quality chances they didn't put away that could have changed the trajectory of this game. But then in the second half, couldn't replicate that and kind of lost their way. And Mexico was able to capitalize, get possession, and finish off a beautiful goal.
Yeah. I kind of blame Charlie for saying that the U.S. were going to win the other day, but, you know, I'll let you off the hook.
Show your optimism, Charlie.
Honestly,
right?
no.
Can we talk about the progress that the U.S. men's national team has made
absolutely.
from pre-tournament
this
to
is
now?
something that you were saying before the show. If you had offered us 1-0 in a pretty good game against Mexico in the final, I think we all would have taken it. I am optimistic for the future, but the second half was a reality check in a lot of ways. Gregg Berhalter has to grow as a manager, and the player pool has to grow. We need a couple more difference makers. I'm optimistic that those guys are coming through. We saw them with the US U20s. We see Paxton Pomykal every week in MLS. We'll see Tim Weah with Lille. We were missing John Anthony Brooks, DeAndre Yedlin, Tyler Adams. They'll make a difference.
They will make a difference, but they were not around for this match. Let's get to the highlights. The U.S. and Mexico in the CONCACAF Gold Cup final 2019, Soldier Field. The U.S. had never lost to a CONCACAF opponent at Soldier Field. They won 2 Gold Cup titles there. 2007, Benny versus Mexico. In 2013, Shea against Panama. These are those golden chances, Charlie, and this might have been the biggest one.
Absolutely. The sweet cut, and then you just have to put it on goal. I think he overthought this one because there was so much time and space, and he pulled it across the goal.
Josie would not make it through this entire game. Jordan Morris thought he had what might be the go-ahead goal there. A nice clearance off the line for Mexico, but ultimately just chance creation was an issue in the second half. And then here it comes, the back heel. Oops, and Jonah Dos Santos passes in with the left foot. Technically, Lori, this is a beautiful sequence.
Oh, it absolutely is. And this is where we were talking about the U.S. team giving away chances, not putting theirs away, but then also not being able to keep possession in that midfield and Mexico taking advantage of it.
That was my nightmare come to life because I've been saying it all tournament long. You got to win your duels in central midfield. You got to track runners. Weston McKennie lost the duel, didn't track the runner, and that was the game's only goal. U.S. throwing numbers forward at the end in desperation, trying to get that equalizer. They put Mexico under pressure, but they couldn't find it.
Tata is, of course, very excited. His first tournament with Mexico results in a championship. I believe that is his first on the international side of the game. Possession battle, Mexico wins it, shots on goal, Mexico wins it, goal attempts, Mexico wins it, dangerous attacks, Mexico wins it, passes, Mexico wins it, and most importantly, and solely importantly, it's 1-0 Mexico in this match. I mean, the stats don't tell the story. Anecdotally, the gap between these two teams in this game, was it big, was it small, was it measurable, where do they stand?
It's a tale of 2 different halves. The first half it started with perfection. Intensity, they were aggressive, they were creating chances. I really felt that the game was theirs. It was theirs. They had it, and they let it slip through their hands because they were not clinical in the final third. When you get Christian Pulisic running at defenses and creating space, these defenders were on their heels the whole time. The Mexican defenders didn't know what to do, how to stop him, because he was so dynamic. He was getting all over the place, and he was dribbling 1, 2, 3 defenders, creating space for others. Then the final pass or the final shot wasn't on frame or it wasn't where it needed to be, and it cost you. You see this play, Christian gets him behind. Now, you can slip it back to Josie here as well. Like, I know in this position I'm probably shooting, but I would expect Christian
Appreciate your honesty.
to have the awareness of slipping Josie there for the tap in. And Josie, he can go near post here. He doesn't have to pull it back post. I think I've been in this situation. You're thinking, oh, you're already thinking about the celebration, and you let the moment get to you.
It's about moments in the international game, especially in a game with two teams of this ambition, this caliber in CONCACAF. Lori, why do you think it is that the moments went missing for the U.S.?
Well, I think it's a learning experience. I mean, first and foremost, when you come into these tournaments, you want to get the results, right? Regardless of the performance, you want to get the wins, you want to get the W's. But at the same time, I think that we got to look at this, and we still have some learning. We have, we talked about the 1-0 loss to Jamaica before this tournament, but how much this team has grown coming in, and I think they got to keep that in their back pocket and think about how they can continue to improve, especially with the amount of players that are missing, injured, weren't even in this tournament.
What do you learn from a result like this? If you were in their shoes after watching this match, what do you think they might be learning right now?
That the smallest details separate these teams, and you mentioned that those two golden opportunities at the beginning, they have to find the back of the net because they will cost you. I mean, those two opportunities cost them this game today, and so it's the smallest details. You got to take care of the ball, both offensively and defensively, and then you'll get the results. 40
matches between these two teams beforehand when the first team scored. 25 times they won, 26 now because Mexico won. This was the 69th meeting between Mexico and the U.S. It was not so nice for this one on the U.S. side. Let's take a look at the trophy lift. You saw the joy for Mexico. What does this mean for them, Matt?
Mexico's in a weird place with their player pool, just like the U.S. are. Not obviously as low as the U.S. were after Cuba, but the group that just came through and played in 2018, they were supposed to be the group that was going to get to that fifth game. They were supposed to be the group that was going to win a knockout round game, get to the quarterfinals, the group that was going to put Mexico not just on the map, but elevate it amongst the big boys, and they didn't do it. And so they had, Juan Carlos Osorio is gone. A lot of the great players from that era are gone, and they're starting over, not completely new, but it does feel like a very different group, and maybe they didn't. The Mexican press certainly had trouble embracing Tata Martino's vision of what that group could be. I don't think they're going to have trouble embracing it anymore after this one. We saw some of the old faces. Jonathan Dos Santos now is an old guy for this group, even though he's 28 years old. He's one of the veterans for this El Tri side. He had the Golazo, Rodolfo Pizarro, who's dominated the last two CONCACAF Champions League. He was excellent tonight. So you're seeing new guys come in and take the mantle. They needed this. I would argue that they needed to win this more than the U.S. did, because we could all look and we know that we're still kind of at the low point and we're seeing glimmers of light. If Mexico lost to the U.S. while we're at our low point, without arguably our best player in Tyler Adams and our $20 million center back in John Anthony, it would have been really bad for them. That's what it gives Tata just a little bit of breathing room.
Little breathing room, some reinforcements on the way as well. It's not just Tyler Adams, John Anthony Brooks for the U.S. There's a whole host of superstars for Mexico to come as Inter-Nations League and then World Cup qualifying. You mentioned Tata Martino. This was a big moment for him to get that monkey off his back, to alleviate some pressure. His vision immediately paid off in a trophy. I wonder now, Charlie, how you see Gregg Berhalter's vision, how you see Gregg Berhalter, the leader, the tactician, the manager for the U.S. after this tournament. Is he the guy? Has he solidified himself as, don't ask me questions, I am the man to lead this team into the new era?
He's definitely solidified himself as the right man for this moment in time for the U.S. men's national team. The way he's grown this program from literally the ground up, when you look at the friendly against Jamaica pre-tournament, they lose 1-0. They were outplayed. It was an uninspiring performance, and you're thinking, man, we're in trouble for this Gold Cup. And he talked about it's a progress, it's a process, and he continued to work at it. And he tinkered here, he tinkered there, and then this team got going. They were flying, they were scoring goals, they were exciting. It got everyone believing in the program again. When I talked to a lot of the former players during my time, everyone's excited about where it's going. It's all trending in the right direction. But they haven't accomplished anything yet. So don't go crowning them ready to go out and compete against the world's elite, because they're not there yet. But they're taking the necessary steps to get there. And I always knew if they got to the final, for me, that was a win. Considering where we were and how we were performing, this was a win to get to the final and compete. And that's what they did. I think when you saw in the first half, it was fire. You saw guys playing with that intensity. Tata Martino made a few adjustments in the second half. They got more comfortable on the Mexican side. They got on the ball a lot more. Then they were like, okay, we got this now. Now we'll wait. We'll be patient. We'll find our chance. And then they did.
Positivity on the macro level. Let's talk micro, Doyle, because we were sitting there watching this game saying these subs aren't making complete sense to me. Maybe Tata got the advantage tactically. What did you make of just the in-game management in this final for Gregg Berhalter?
It wasn't as good as I had hoped it would be. I thought the big change in the second half was flipping Pizarro to the right side, matching him up against Tim Ream for the U.S. And Ream had been excellent in the first half. And if you go and rewatch that half, a lot of the progression from back to midfield to the forward line, and sometimes just skipping the line, it came down to Ream. And if you look back at what we did against Jamaica, we had like 6 or 7 different, like 15 pass sequences that ended with shots. And Ream was central to all of that. Putting Pizarro on the right, like, eliminated Ream from the game. Suddenly the U.S. had no way to build up through that side. And it just tilted the game completely in Mexico's favor. And that was really tough. Then Zardes subbing on for Altidore. That's an incorrect use of that meme because the two players are nothing alike. And honestly, my big worry with the U.S. coming out of this was the first half, you had healthy, fit, and really up for it, Jose Altidore, and we were so good. And in the second half, as soon as he started running out of gas, the U.S. just completely changed. By about the 53rd, 54th minute, the U.S. completely changed as a team, just not able to create anything. And I don't know who that backup forward is behind Jose Altidore, because all due respect to José Zardes, who had a couple nice moments in this one, it's not him.
When you look at the last 20 minutes, Lori, and the goal comes in the 73rd, and you have Lovitz for Ream in the 83rd, and now you have Giassi on. What did the U.S. need in those final 20 minutes? Because it was just kind of throw it at the wall, see what worked. You didn't have that first half where you had space, where you had Pulisic driving. It just kind of felt like the inspiration dried up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you have Zardes come in, you got to play more direct, but you also have somebody that's going to be able to hold up that ball when you do play direct, so you can have players running off of it. And I think that's what Josie does so well, is he's able to come back, link, and when you start to lose that, then we started to lose our way in that midfield especially. So if you're going to bring Zardes in, go long, but he's got to be able to hold up play to at least bring in some other players to join into the attack in that final third.
And the other thing, Wiebe, you and I were talking about it in the green room while we were watching the game. Like, I want us to be able to change our defensive shape a little bit. We play in that 4-2-2-2, and it was actually very good throughout the tournament at sort of blunting attacks. The U.S. would allow teams to work into the midfield, but then even Mexico, until the goal, really struggled to create great looks out of it. But it was very sort of one note for the U.S., and we lost the central midfield numbers game. By the middle of the second half, it was like, oh my God, Michael Bradley hasn't been able to do this much running since 2011. I love Weston McKennie, but like Weston McKennie's not Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams is like super aware, super alert to every possible hint of danger. He tracks everything. He covers all that ground. Weston McKennie's not that guy, and we saw it on the goal. And once we started losing that numbers game, it would have been great if we had the ability to shift from a 4-2-2-2 to maybe more of a 4-5-1. Bring a third central midfielder in there, put Pulisic out on the wing, maybe on the same wing as Reggie Cannon, and like say, okay, we're going to sit low block, absorb, and we're going to hit you with these two guys on the break, which is exactly what Haiti did to Mexico. And Haiti had more chances to win it than we did in the final 20 minutes of that game. So I like, there's a lot to be positive about out of this one, but there's a lot more work to be done, and hopefully Gregg Berhalter is able to look at the film and see it and do the work.
Which is a good sign, because when you think about it, we did so well, and we still have a long way to go, but you can see it, we can get there. Yeah. Whereas before, you're like, I don't know if we have the player pool, I don't know if we have the talent, I don't know if we have the coaching. I think we have all three, but we still need to make improvements.
Expected goals are not going to win you games. Mexico will tell you that. You watch this, you know that. Jonathan Dos Santos got the winner. That's all on the board. Paul Carr, we know him well, says the U.S. didn't have chances, but oh, wow, they won the expected goal battle. What's that say to you? It says to me that probably the chance that Josie pulled wide is one that most people would expect to be finished. When you look back,
the Pulisic chance even
that too.
earlier, yeah. No, I mean the U.S. created fewer chances but better ones, and we just didn't win the game. It was one of the things I said about the women's team against England. Like, we didn't win that game in the midfield. We were just better in the 18s. We were just much better in the 18s. Mm-hmm. The U.S. tonight, we were worse in the 18s. That's why Mexico's holding a trophy.
What's Josie thinking right now, Charlie? As he thinks back on this game, reflects on his tournament?
Yeah. When you miss a chance like that, that haunts you. That haunts you for a while. It sticks with you because you say, what if? Because if he finishes that chance, that changes the way Mexico plays. That changes the way they think. All of a sudden, they go into a shell possibly, and you can add another. Or it's, man, I don't know if we can compete with these guys long term. This is just the start of this U.S. men's national team as they blossom. It can do wonders. One goal can do wonders for World Cup qualifying, for that mental battle between the Mexican players. But when you miss a chance, that also can work in the adverse effect.
I mean, you love what he does in this moment. The little cut, the left foot.
I've seen that cut before.
Yeah, he's feeling it, and you're accustomed to him converting him. It kind of goes back to what we've been talking about throughout this tournament, which are some questions at that striker position as it pertains to depth, long-term, short-term, overall quality. I mean, here's another great chance. That's got to be high on the expected goal spectrum as well, Doyle. I do want to go back and take a look at the winner for Mexico. And if we can cue that up in the control room, that would be amazing, because I think you're going back and talking about Weston McKennie, the midfield, where this game was lost, and it comes down to one chance. Jonathan Dos Santos is the man that scores it. What happens here?
Well, it happened after a lost midfield 50-50 between Weston McKennie, and then it was up to Michael Bradley to try to contain this. And Bradley only did okay. I thought he could have gotten a little closer there. But let's play it one more time from that angle. And you could see Weston McKennie lets Jonathan Dos Santos just run right by him. He doesn't track the run. And, that's your job. You have to do that. If you're going to play for the U.S. national team in these games and wear the armband, you have to do that. And if you're going to play for Schalke, who's a Champions League team, you have to do that. Now, the question with Weston McKennie, Schalke almost never plays him as a central midfielder. They play him everywhere else on the field. Is it that they think he's so good that they can literally play him anywhere and he'll give in a good put in a good performance, or is it that they just think he's not a central midfielder? And my fear is that it's that second one. That said, I thought throughout the tournament, he did get better at finding the ball, finding the game, making good little defense. Did you see the same thing? I mean, because obviously you've played at a higher level than I. No, he couldn't find the game the first couple of games, but I thought he did better with that as the tournament went along.
Yeah, and as the tournament went along too, we saw those two, Michael Bradley and him, get on the ball more, right? And so that's more of their game. Get on the ball, create, link, play make. And then when you're chasing the game in that second half, that's not entirely their game, right? So you're lost. That's the last thing you want to do at this point in time is chase if you haven't seen the ball for a while. But again, that's the growth of this team, I believe, right? Is for those players to be able to step up, start to make those big plays, recognize when you need to track what you're doing for your team. And that's why this tournament is going to be important going forward to clean up those small details that we've talked about, right?
Reps.
Reps. Exactly.
And the importance of possession. When you lose possession, teams punish you, whether it's by creating chances or by just chasing and causing you to have extreme fatigue, because I've been on that side where you're just chasing, you can't get into a rhythm, and next thing you know, you have secondary runners, outside backs, center backs making runs forward, and you're lost. There was also a play before that where Jonathan Dos Santos made a late run, and Michael Bradley had to track him and couldn't get to him, and he whipped the ball across that Jimenez whiffed on, which is very fortunate for the U.S. in that occasion as well. But this is a game where you gain experience and you realize, man, we went toe-to-toe with Mexico, and we're not there yet. Where will we be in 6 months from now, a year from now, when we're all on the same point and we're all on the same page and we understand how to get results against quality teams.
September is the next international window for the U.S. In October, Nations League starts for the U.S. Other nations will have that September date to play a couple games in that one as well. Let's go down memory lane as we're putting this one behind us. This is a flashback for you. Only one of us has scored against Mexico. Let's try. I got a little 8-bit soccer going on here, Charlie. We still all remember. It's vivid in our memories. In behind, the right foot. What's it like playing against Mexico?
HD.
The celebration's still beautiful.
People don't know the struggle without 4K.
What was this like to play against Mexico, to score in a game of this magnitude? What did it mean for you in your journey in your career?
It was a dream come true because literally the first ever U.S. men's national team game I watched live was U.S.-Mexico in Foxborough, Massachusetts. And I realized right then and there, this is my dream. I want to play in this match. When I saw how much it meant to the U.S. supporters, how much it meant to Mexican supporters, and what an honor it would be to represent your country to play in this match, I wanted to work as hard as I could to make that happen. And once I was walking down the tunnel into Azteca and seeing the plaques of Maradona in the 86 World Cup and 70 World Cup with Pele, I realized, wow, this is a big one, the historic stadium, and 2, this is a World Cup qualifier against our arch rival, our nemesis. And once I scored, and it was early in the first half, it went silent. And it was really one of those moments where it was surreal because I could not believe that I was living my dream. It wasn't one of those euphoric moments. It was literally, I was out of my body, and I just scored a goal in Azteca, and then all of a sudden I went to celebrate, and batteries and coins, and I was dodging all bags of urine.
Wake up, move, get your reflexes back.
Yeah, your teammates couldn't believe you went to the corner and they run another 40 yards. Like, Charlie, we're at 8,000 feet here. Get back to midfield.
It was an incredible moment in my career, and I know I got to share it not only with my teammates and coaching staff, but the 2,000 or so supporters that came out to brave that intense crowd, and it was an incredible moment.
Lori, you know better than any of us probably that international soccer is a gradual process. It's a measuring stick. You're moving towards something. The U.S. wanted to win this tournament. Ultimately, the men want to get back to the World Cup. This is a measuring stick for them. Now what? You've got your measurement. You're not quite to Mexico. What do you do from here?
Yeah, you get back to the drawing board quickly. And I mean, you said it, get to have Berhalter look at the film, make sure we're taking care of the tactics. But every player, though, needs to step up, right? I mean, step up for their club, continue to improve, make sure they're doing what they can to make this roster, but also to push forward. It's really at an individual level, I believe, at this point in time. And then when they come together, you're just that much better.
Yeah, I mean, no arguments there. It is going to be a process. That's what Berhalter said it in his opening press conference back in December. Is like, judge me, game by game, whether or not we've made progress. I did feel like there was legitimate progress to be seen here from the U.S., even though the result is disappointing, and I'm clearly wearing it on my face right now. But I did like I don't know how you could watch this Gold Cup and not be optimistic.
There you go.
Yeah, right?
There you go.
Bro, it's like a smile comes naturally to me. Sunshine, darkness. Sunshine,
Let me
darkness.
get back in character.
And I'm like, floral print, Johnny Cash, all right?
I was frustrated with the subs. I have to admit, I will come out of this a little bit worried that maybe he doesn't have his finger on the pulse of what the team needs in terms of bringing the right guys in to change the game. I don't know what happened to Tyler Boyd. Maybe he picked up a knock or something, but it felt like he would have been useful, not even as a sub, but from the start. And if you had him from the start, okay, make the change at the half-hour mark, then you could bring Jordan Morris on. I thought that was weird. The Lovett sub at the end was very strange to me. It didn't serve a purpose that I could really tell a like-for-like sub at that point. So, there are things that are going to need to get better. But, that's true for everybody.
Yep. When you lose, a time for reflection, and surely Gregg Berhalter will reflect after this one. The U.S. going for their 7th Gold Cup title. They fell up a little bit short to Mexico, who now have 8 championships in CONCACAF's marquee event. All right, let's move on to happier things now, to world championships, to magical runs in France, to the U.S. women's national team. We, as I'm sure you did at home, watched this game wherever it was, whether it was in a bar or at home with your family, your friends. The Netherlands just...
cats.
Yeah. 2 cats. I said friends.
Okay.
We covered that. And family. It all works there. Lori, you've been covering this tournament from the very beginning on Sirius, giving your reaction to every single game. Just tell me what you felt at the final whistle and what you think this team's legacy is after their 4th World Cup title.
Yeah, well, honestly, it's a little bit like this Gold Cup, right? Coming into this tournament, I mean, we hadn't put a ton of great performances together, and it really kind of felt like we might be treading some water, especially if you look at the other countries and how much they're evolving and improving. But I mean, since that first whistle against Thailand, you could tell that we were here to play, and we were putting everything that was a distraction or off the field behind us. And this is the first time in a long time that I felt a team come together like this and have that camaraderie and really just that oneness of like, this is the common goal, this is what we want to achieve. And from the coaching staff to the 23rd player on the roster, and just elation on my part. So proud to be a part of this program and what this team has done when it comes to equal play and just evolving this sport globally. These
are moments that we will all remember forever. Megan Rapinoe, Golden Boot, Golden Ball winner, Rose Lavelle with a beautiful left footer in this game. Watch me roll. Watch me go to the left. Oh, don't let me do. Yeah, goal. You knew from the start she was putting that one in the back. Then the U.S. win. Jill Ellis gets her second. The U.S. go back to back. Charlie, you got to watch this and think, well, you got to be inspired, to be honest with you.
Oh, they united a country, and they're so great at what they do on the field and off the field. And when you get a casual fan supporter to watch them, they fall in love with the team, they fall in love with the sport, and that's iconic. What they do to get young girls believing, having this dream that they can achieve it, they can do anything they set their mind to. That's powerful, and not only in this country but around the globe. That's for me what is really special is that they're making setting new ways and allowing women to have more rights and better quality fields and better quality stadiums and really doing so much for the sport around the whole globe.
They inspire, but they take no prisoners, Matt. There was a little bit of a troll quality to this team in the very best way.
Yeah.
The kind of way where it's like, you're going to talk to me, I'm going to come bring it back to you, and I'm going to talk and I'm going to finish.
You know,
bring the pinky up. Just put the pinky up.
There you go. A lot of teams, when they play with a chip on their shoulder, it's like the nobody believes in us chip. It's like, they went out there like everybody believes in us, and we're going to show you why. And that was, I mean, today especially was awesome because against England, I think a little bit against France as well, it was just about being better in the 18s and saying, okay, we're not going to worry about the midfield. Today, they just overran what I thought was a pretty good Dutch team, and the U.S. gave them nothing in central midfield. And to be fair, I thought the Dutch did a good job of pushing the U.S. to the flanks, and the U.S. were like, okay, we can do that. And so it was Rapinoe and Dunn on the left side, just like utterly dominant. And once the game tilted that way, then they made these long switches to Tobin Heath on the right side. It's like, you can't, like, there's no good, everything's a Sophie's choice playing against this team. It was 2-0. It could have been 4 or 5. The Dutch keeper was amazing. A little bit of selfishness at the end.
I bet you Alex Morgan would tell you it could be 4 or 5. Pass me the ball, it'll be 5. Watch, I'm standing right in front of the goal right now.
But it was just, we said after the England game, I said, you know what, they won. I want to see them play better. Today they played better. It was great.
The World Cup final was the quarterfinal.
Yeah,
it was France.
Yeah.
And then England was the next best opponent, and this Holland team, they had no chance.
Tell me what this team's legacy is, because Gold Cup, completely different thing, a different level, but Weston McKennie said, if we can win this, it starts our legacy. What legacy did this particular team leave, Lori?
Well, I mean, it just not even sparked like young, inspiring young girls, but it inspired a nation, really. I mean, when you start to hear politicians speak out, right, in social media, when you're just entertainers, everybody. I mean, I can't believe how much this sport has blown up in this little bit of time, right? But I think really the legacy is yet to be seen. I mean, we always have to give credit to the 99ers who really were the pioneers, even before them, the 91 team that won. Pioneers, because this is the team that was built on improving, not only looking out for the current team, but how can we push this sport forward, and that has always been the theme no matter who's playing on this team. And we saw that again today with Megan Rapinoe putting this team on her back, speaking out about the issues eloquently, I would argue. And but, for the legacy, it's about really continuing to improve and now getting more visibility at the club level, continuing not just every 4 years, right, getting excitement around this tournament, but consistently and improving pay across the board. And again, it's not just in the U.S., right? I mean, I think that's what this team does is thinks about this globally, and we understand that we've been supported for a very long time, and there's still room to improve here as well, but to continue to gather that support and push this sport forward for years, right, forever.
This is the one, and there's been great moments in the last 20 years, but this one felt more like '99.
I agree.
And I can't exactly put my finger on why. I mean, maybe it's just that Megan broke through and became not just a star athlete, but a star of the zeitgeist, a pop culture phenomenon.
Honestly, I also think it's kind of like the political climate as well. I mean, people want something, right? They want something to be inspired about. I mean, obviously, for lack of a better word, there's some shambles when it comes to politically, right? And to see women speak out about and use their platform for good, and then show that they can back it up on the field too is the best, in my opinion.
And the swagger. That's what I love too.
Hair and you're doing it.
I love that Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe are doing these celebrations that are fun but cause controversy. I mean, that's the part of scoring goals is celebrating and backing it up. So that's what they do.
Yeah,
and I love that.
And
unapologetically as well.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what we do. We score goals. We
Absolutely.
celebrate them. We win World Cups. We're going to celebrate that as well. And if you haven't been following Instagram, Ashton Harris has been having a good time with that team. We're sitting in the studio thinking, man, why am I not in France right now? This seems like a lot of fun.
Like, if you don't want us to celebrate, don't let us score.
Yeah. To go back to Megan Rapinoe, I'm in the bar in Brooklyn with my son, and streams coming up. The biggest, most explosive yell was when Rapinoe came off. People just applauding. As I said, the Golden Boot winner in this tournament, as well as the Golden Ball. I think there's a number of U.S. players that have a shot at that Golden Ball as well. Rose Lavelle was inspirational in this tournament. You mentioned building down the road. We talk about MLS on this channel almost all the time. It's understandable. NWSL, if you're in a market, if you're not, it's on ESPN, it's on Yahoo. Go get in the stadium. Go watch live soccer. It's a beautiful thing. This was a beautiful tournament. It was an incredible time. I know that I was hooked on the whole thing for the better part of 7 weeks. It helped that I ravaged my ankle and I couldn't go anywhere. But I would have watched it all anyway. It was. I got a lot of soccer in between Gold Cup, Copa America, AFCON, and the Women's World Cup. It was incredible. MLS players doing their work around the world as well, but world champions, there's only one of them. That's the U.S. women. Let's take a run through who did the most in this tournament in the tournaments around the world as far as MLSers. Let's go to AFCON.
Yeah, you mentioned AFCON. Romain Martiner from Minnesota United, he's been key for Madagascar as I believe this is the first time they've ever made it to the quarterfinals. So. It's a fantastic result for them. He's been fantastic. For both club and country this year.
A number of MLSers with Venezuela, Vinotinto. They made a little run, one of the best teams we've seen from Venezuela in a long, long time. Junior Moreno was there doing his work with them. You also have Joseph Martinez.
Junior Moreno was fantastic for Venezuela, and he's been fantastic for DC United this year. And it just goes to show, because he struggled for the first half of 2018, and it just goes to show that even a really good player often needs time to settle in with a new club in a new league. But what a player he has turned out to be. And this Venezuela team, I know they went out kind of disappointingly. This is probably the best Venezuela team I've ever seen. They're going to be dangerous in World Cup qualifying.
Second to bottom in the last cycle. They'll want to improve on that performance, no doubt about it. Roy Antuna was a complete unknown for El Tri ahead of this tournament. 4 goals, 2 assists in 6 games. He stepped up, he performed. There are still some doubters. LA Galaxy hope he replicates this for them. Yeah, I knew there were some. I knew that one might be sitting on set with us. This was a big tournament for him.
It was a huge tournament for him. He's still under contract with Manchester City. To my eye, he still looks like he's primarily just speed. But Tata Martino knows how to use a guy like that.
Oh boy, Charlie, when you look at these Golden Boot standings, Canada fans have got to be kicking themselves. Jonathan David, Lucas Cavallini, incredible tournaments, but
For me, it's America. I'm kicking myself because the Americans. Where are we in this? I would expect at least 2 guys to be up top in these standings. So we got to start developing some strikers and guys who can put the ball in the back of the net.
David, Cavallini, Raul Jimenez, Roy Antuna, and Giassi Zardes. Jonah dos Santos, though, he is the hero. 3 goals for El Tri, all 3 of them coming in 2019. Paraguay, Ecuador in the tune-up friendlies for this tournament. And then when it mattered most, against the U.S. in the Gold Cup final. This is the 6th meeting in a Gold Cup final between these 2 teams. 5 of those finals, the Mexican team has won. 93, 98, 2007, 2009, 2011, and now here in 2019. Congratulations to El Tri. I don't think we've said that yet. It should be said. But it should be said, Charlie.
They're sending me constant tweets and Instagram posts right now of rubbing it in, which I love because it just makes this rivalry that much better. And I think they understand that we're much better than everyone thought we were. And so now we have this rivalry back.
Yeah, gracious losers maybe, but not happy about it, and certainly don't want to see it next time around. Look, it's not just about the results here in the Gold Cup. For some players, it's about the next opportunity in their career. Eloy Room is one of those, the goalkeeper for Curacao. I'm sure that many saw him in that game against the U.S. and were impressed by him. Well, now he's coming to Major League Soccer. He's coming to Columbus Crew SC, who needed a goalkeeper because the U.S. goalkeeper, Zach Steffen, is on his way to Europe. Manchester City signing him. Reportedly, he's headed to Germany to the Bundesliga. Room is going to take that starting spot with Columbus, Charlie. What's this mean?
He had a fantastic Gold Cup, and what he meant for Curacao was being that guy who was not going to give up the easy goal. You had to really beat him to score. And, you know, when you talk about not giving up rebounds and making those critical saves to keep your team in the game, that's what he can do. And this Columbus Crew need him more than ever right now.
That part is true.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And it makes a lot of sense. He's on a free. You know, he was out of contract at PSV. He didn't play a lot for PSV the last couple of years, but he has 150 games, I think, in the Dutch Eredivisie. Mostly with FC Twente, which tends to be like a mid-table team there. They play out of the back, which is, I know, what Caleb Porter wants to do with Columbus as well. I think he'll fit right in. You know, he's not going to be shook by playing in the U.S. against these players. He just showed for Curacao that he's absolutely fine with that.
Congratulations, Eloy Room. Just moving over from PSV. His contract expired in the Eredivisie, but before that, he had been a starter for a number of teams in Holland. All right, let's walk back through it here. How the U.S. got to the final. Lori, what did you see from this team throughout the tournament? Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago, Panama, Curacao, Jamaica, and Mexico, the lone loss.
Well, right in some ways for sure in the early games, but then as they settled in, starting to really kind of solidify how they want to play, and we saw that in the last 2 games with Gregg Berhalter sticking with the same lineup and playing through the midfield and looking to find the strikers and see who was going to be the best fit in that striker, but really started to grow into themselves and again improved performances as this tournament went on.
I feel like we saw the best of the U.S. in flashes, and maybe that is why we're ending the tournament in second place. You saw the best of Pulisic at times. You saw the best of Weston McKennie at times, of Areola and Giassi and Boyd and Josie in moments. But we never did see consistency, I would say, or consistent excellence. Am I off on that? Do you disagree?
I think the first 60 minutes against Jamaica was consistently pretty great. But in large part, I agree with you. And to me, that comes down to the player pool more than anything else. Because we've said it a million times, there's still no backup for Josie. There's still not a high level at left back, I don't think. Weston McKennie needs more reps as a central midfielder. Michael Bradley ended up having a very good tournament, but he doesn't cover the ground that he used to, and that could leave us a little bit soft in central midfield. So you go down the list of stuff. Again, I think it's things that get fixed by Tyler Adams, by Paxton Pomykal, by John Brooks, by, hopefully Josh Sargent is a big part of the equation as well. I think that these things get fixed and get better over the next couple of years, but U.S. fans are going to have to be patient. And I don't know if you've looked at Twitter recently. It's a bloodbath out there tonight. They don't seem like they want to be patient.
Here is our Twitter poll for you with the Gold Cup now over. How do you feel about the U.S. national team? Great, 5%. 42% says needs some fine-tuning. I think I'd be in that group. 27% more thumbs down than thumbs up, and 26% say poor, which I think is maybe a little bit reactionary.
That's harsh.
Yeah, let's go through and grade some of these performances from the tournament overall. Rapid fire. Christian Pulisic, what grade are you giving him for this Gold Cup?
You want me to go first?
Sure, yeah. Come on, man. Put it down. Get your grade down.
I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 because I think at times he was lethal. He was dangerous. You couldn't stop him. But there were too many times where he'd go missing or he'd go hiding, and that'd be due to being in the midfield, being around too many players, not having the space to really operate and finding the game. I think it took too long for him to find the game at times. But this is a process, and I think as we see him play more in this position, he'll continue to get better. Otherwise, maybe when Tyler Adams comes back, maybe he moves out to the wing, and that will open up the game. Him playing on the left for Areola, I think, if you move him there, you have now a dynamic winger who can come inside, who can go outside, is more unpredictable, whereas Areola is really just north and south.
That's Christian Pulisic. Let's go to the engine room. Weston McKennie, Lori, what'd you make of him in this tournament?
I thought he had a very good tournament, and in fact, when you're talking about reps, I think that is the key as well. But there was moments of brilliance for him, and when you're talking also about flashes, that might be the case for him in terms of becoming more consistent, especially in that center mid position when that's what you need, right? Consistency, being able to keep the ball. But he's proven that he can get in behind, make good runs, timing his runs to score big goals. But at the same time, can he do that defensively, and can he do that for 90 minutes throughout several games in a tournament?
Details matter in the middle of the park.
Yeah, the thing that people have done a lot in this tournament is compare Pulisic and McKennie to Donovan and Beasley when they came in the 2002 Gold Cup. They weren't asked to be the best players on that team. Claudio Reyna, John O'Brien, Clint Mathis, Brian McBride, Eddie Pope, those guys were the best players on that team. So they just had to fit in, whereas in this tournament, the U.S. needed Pulisic and McKennie to be the best players out there almost every game. They mostly weren't up for it, but they did show flashes. For 20 years old, that's not bad.
Zach McBath. Excuse me.
Zach
Steffen.
Steffen.
Whoa. Too many Zach goalkeepers in Major League Soccer. My brain is getting a little fuzzy here.
I don't know, like a 6-eyed, did he do anything? He didn't. he basically didn't have to do anything. He had that one really great save against Curacao, I believe. Couldn't have done anything on the goal tonight. I thought his distribution tonight could have been a little bit better, but he looked like a number one keeper to me. He didn't hurt himself. He didn't help himself. Hopefully he goes to Eintracht Frankfurt and wins that job.
Now he has another opportunity. Go to Germany, where he was before and had to leave, and make a name for himself. Gyasi Zardes. This has been a polarizing one. How do you think his tournament was? 3 goals, most early in the tournament.
It's exactly what I would have predicted if Gyasi Zardes was playing against Guyana and Trinidad. It's against the Mexicos of the world. What can he do? How can he change the game? Can he be unpredictable? And he doesn't have those skill sets needed to open up a Mexico defense. It's really just north and south. And that's what separates him from Jozy Altidore, is being able to be versatile and change your game up and bring other guys into the game. Can you connect? Can you drop deep? Can you hold? Jozy Altidore can hold up 2 defenders. He occupies 2 center backs. That's impressive. To be able to outmaneuver one center back and then force the other center back to come to cover, which you create so much space now in the back half. So Gyasi Zardes can't do that, and ultimately, I don't think long-term we're going to see him really, continue to get minutes with this team.
Some questions about Jozy long-term as well, just strictly on age and also on health, because they did have to ease him into this tournament, Lori. He had a big moment against Panama. He also had a big moment against Mexico that went lacking. How would you grade his performance in this tournament?
I would give Jozy a 7. I think when he was healthy, he was good, and he shows his qualities of being able to get players into the mix, be able to come back and link up and again, hold players off, and then obviously get himself into goal-scoring positions as well. Unfortunately, didn't finish all those opportunities, which is your job at the the highest position in the field, but shows what he can do. And then also, I think there's still question marks, though. I mean, he's been haunted by hamstring injuries throughout his career, and can he stay healthy to continue to be a leader along with Michael Bradley on this young team, really?
Let's go with the tactician to finish this off, and then we'll go to an AT&T call to the field. Walker Zimmerman is standing by. Gregg Berhalter, grade it for me. How do you do in this tournament, his first as an international manager?
I think I give him about a 6.5 out of 10. A little bit better than I expected because the team did make so much progress from, from game 1 to game 6. The win over the 6-0 over Trinidad and Tobago was cathartic in a way. The win over Jamaica was really good. The first half tonight was arguably the best soccer that the U.S. has played in a long, long time. I need to see a little bit more flexibility with defensive shape. I got to see something from us that shows, okay, we're not going to win. We're not going to lose the midfield numbers game. I didn't see that, so I was disappointed. And some of his personnel decisions left me really confused and wanting more, and a little bit worried about the personnel decisions to come.
As a former player, Charlie, what do you take away from that? And what would you be thinking at the end of this tournament when you reflected on the decisions that were made at the top of the staff?
For me, Gregg Berhalter did a great job in the sense of getting this team to the final and getting them to understand that we just have to continue to improve on our performances. He did that. However, when you look at the substitutions in crucial moments like tonight, bringing on a Lovitz at left back for Tim Ream, how is that going to get you a goal? That would be my main concern is, is Christian Roldan going to get you a goal, and is Lovitz going to get you a goal? Are these guys that can impact a game against Mexico in a Gold Cup final? Probably not. But it's a learning experience for him. This is his first time in a major tournament with the full men's national team as the guy that's supposed to be the leader to make these decisions. He's going to learn from this. Just as the team's going to learn from this performance, he's going to learn from this performance. And he's just going to get more of his players back into the pool. When you get healthy Tyler Adams, that makes a big difference. When you get John Brooks back there, that makes a big difference. And as a former player, I watched this team, and now I can say these guys get it. They know what it means to wear the shirt. The way they played that first half, the passion, the intensity, the respect, I felt it, and I think everyone else did. And that's what excites me, is that finally Gregg Berhalter got everyone believing and understanding what it means to represent your country. And when you step on the field, you go out there and you make everyone proud. And it doesn't necessarily have to be by the results. It's about how you go out there and conduct yourself. And they did it to perfection for me tonight, especially in that first half. They went out and really showed we care. We care when we put on this jersey.
Did not get the result, unfortunately. Let's go out to Chicago for AT&T call to the field. Susannah Collins caught up with Walker Zimmerman after this match.
The main message was learning from the experience. Obviously, we're all disappointed, gutted, put in a lot of hard work this month. His message was focus on the improvements that we made over the course of the month. The team building, chemistry, relationships, and that's going to matter down the road and certainly the next time we play Mexico.
Throughout the course of the tournament, what improvements did you see?
Well, I thought we picked up our intensity. Our pressure became a little bit better. Started creating a little bit more ideas within each game. This one we certainly had our chances. Didn't walk away bagging any goals, but created some good opportunities and just fell a little bit short this time.
I mean, physically, this was a tough one out there. It was a battle, lived up to all the hype. What made Mexico such a tough opponent tonight?
I mean, the atmosphere was incredible. You always dream of playing games like this, high-level competition in a final against your rival. You know that that's going to bring extra intensity, extra energy, and it's going to take a lot from everyone. And so can't fault the effort from the boys who played tonight, and certainly proud of this group and know that we're going to keep building and keep getting stronger and be ready for.
Walker Zimmerman, such a big part of this team, was not in the lineup in the semis or the final, but will be among this player pool going forward, I have to assume. But the big question is the next cycle. It's getting to the World Cup. It's making sure 2022 is not the same as Cuba and 2018. So let's look ahead. Let's look ahead to Nations League. Let's look ahead to friendlies, the World Cup qualifiers, everything that is to come. Who's on the radar for this next camp, for this next cycle, for the future that could change this team, Doyle?
It's Josh Sargent. It's the last cut from this Gold Cup roster, and a guy who, like, he struggled when he played for Werder Bremen this past. He only got 200 minutes. He didn't look fit. He played his way out of the rotation in Germany. He missed this tournament for whatever reason. Maybe it ends up being a good thing because it gets him to Germany with a full preseason with that team. And he's 19 years old now. He's not a kid. He's got to go there and win a job. And if he does, then the questions I've been asking, like who's our forward besides Josie, I think that gets answered. He serves a similar function to Josie. He's a really good passer. He plays well with his back to the goal. He's not as powerful. He's probably a better finisher. There's a lot of expectations on him. And I'll say it, like there are a lot of pretty good young forwards in the U.S. pool. Josh Sargent's the only elite prospect in the U.S. forward pool. More than any other player, we need him to hit. We need him to be as good as we think he can be. If he's not, it lowers the collective ceiling of this team.
There's another young player in Germany getting a full preseason that we thought would be in this team that then wasn't, Lori. I have to imagine Tyler Adams is a player that can completely change what's going on for the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously out for injury. But bringing him back in with the ground he can cover, and we all know what he can do in terms of in the midfield, right? And then so I think this is goes to show that how well this team has performed in getting to the final of this Gold Cup, but there's still these younger players that can make an impact. I mean, the injury replacement, Reggie Cannon, right? I mean, he gets in, starts the game against Jamaica, plays full 90, starts tonight against Mexico. I mean, those are massive minutes that he gets in terms of experience. So bringing Tyler Adams back in, but then also Reggie Cannon getting that experience, I mean, that's almost 2 for 1.
And if you move, as you said, Christian Pulisic to the wing, Charlie, maybe that opens up a spot for
Paxton Pomykal. Now, when you look at this kid and the engine he has, and he's got this tenacity about him. He gets up and down, box to box. He can finish, he can create, he can dribble, he can move the ball. He's kind of got it all. He's got this complete package for a midfielder. And what I love about him is he does it with this humbleness about him. It's almost like, I'm gonna beat you, but I'm gonna do it in a nice way. I'm not gonna rub it in, but I'm gonna beat you. And his first touch is great. His awareness, he's exactly what you'd want in that midfield position if it's not gonna be Christian Pulisic.
We will see. Gregg Berhalter has some decisions to make going forward. It's Canada and Cuba in Nations League in Group A for the U.S., and then, of course, a new cycle begins. U.S. on the wrong end of this result tonight. Gold Cup champions are Mexico, 1-0 winners, thanks to a 73rd minute goal from Jonah Dos Santos. Big thanks to everyone out there who watched this journey with us on Club and Country. Thank you to you, Charlie, for making the trip down from Massachusetts repeatedly. We appreciate your optimism. Lori, thanks for coming in for the final and hanging with us. And Doyle, thanks for nothing, man. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for giving us your unique brand of analysts all tournament long. And to Jillian Sakovits and Susannah Collins out in the field. Enjoy your night, everyone. Bobby Warshaw is gone, but we like him too. Thank you for watching Club and Country. We will see you very, very soon.